During WW2, how were American men who couldn't pass the military requirements to enlist treated? My grandfather Frank told me this story before he died. December 1941, right after Pearl Harbor. Every able-bodied man in his small Ohio town was lining up to enlist. Frank had polio as a kid. Left leg was twisted, walked with a pronounced limp. But he was 22, patriotic as hell, and desperate to serve his country like everyone else. At the recruitment office, the doctor took one look at his leg and stamped his papers 4F, physically unfit for military service. Frank begged them to reconsider, said he could do clerical work, anything to help. "Son, we need soldiers, not cripples," the recruiter said. Those were his exact words. Frank walked out humiliated while his childhood friends celebrated their acceptance. The social backlash started immediately. White feathers appeared in his mailbox, symbol of cowardice. Women crossed the street to avoid him. Former friends stopped talking to him entirely. His neighbor Mrs. Patterson, whose son died at Normandy, spat on him at the grocery store, called him a yellow-bellied draft dodger in front of everyone. Nobody defended him. Local newspaper ran articles about shirkers and malingerers avoiding their patriotic duty. Never mentioned the 4F classification. Just implied healthy young men were hiding from service. Frank lost his job at the hardware store. Boss said customers complained about being served by a coward. Couldn't find work anywhere in town for months. The irony was brutal. Frank desperately wanted to serve while others were genuinely trying to avoid the draft. But perception mattered more than reality. Finally got work at a defense plant making aircraft parts. 60-hour weeks, dangerous conditions, terrible pay. But at least it was supporting the war effort. Even there, he faced constant harassment. Coworkers assumed he was a draft dodger. Supervisors gave him the worst assignments. Some guys would accidentally trip him in the factory. The psychological toll was devastating. Frank developed severe depression, started drinking heavily, considered suicide multiple times, felt like a failure as a man and an American. Things got worse in 1943 when casualty reports started coming back. Every Gold Star mother in town blamed men like Frank for their sons' deaths. Logic didn't matter. Frank's younger brother Danny enlisted in 1944. 18 years old. Perfect health. Frank felt guilty that his kid brother was fighting while he stayed home safe. Danny was killed at the Battle of the Bulge. Frank blamed himself. If he'd been able to serve, maybe Danny wouldn't have felt pressured to enlist so young. The worst part was Victory Day, 1945. Parade down Main Street. Heroes returning home. Frank watched from his apartment window. Couldn't bear to show his face. For decades afterward, Frank never talked about the war. Too ashamed. People assumed he'd had an easy time while others sacrificed. Truth was more complicated. Wasn't until the 1990s that historians started documenting the civilian experience. Found that 4F men had suicide rates 3 times higher than average during the war. Many suffered lifelong trauma from social rejection. Some left their hometowns permanently. Others changed their names. The shame followed them forever. Frank finally joined a veteran support group in his 70s. Met other 4F men who'd faced similar treatment. First time he talked to anyone who understood. Learned that over 4 million American men were classified 4F during WWII. Physical disabilities, mental health issues, chronic illnesses. None of them chose their condition. The defense plant where Frank worked produced more aircraft components than any factory in Ohio. His contribution to victory was real and measurable, but society never recognized it. Frank died in 2003, still carrying guilt about not serving. Never received recognition for his wartime contributions. Never got the respect he deserved as a patriotic American. The Greatest Generation narrative focuses on heroes and sacrifice. Rarely mentions the men who wanted to serve but couldn't. Their suffering was real too. War doesn't just create military casualties, it creates civilian ones too. Frank was wounded by his own country's judgment. Some wounds never heal.